Hey guys, and welcome to the WWE Podcast Mailbag. This is episode number 5, and we're recording this on December 2nd, 2020. So, hope all is well, and before we get going, big shout out to Sean Harford, who continues his patronage on patreon.com. Big thank you to him, and he co-hosted my Raw review this past week, so check that out as well. So, if you'd like to join Patreon, head on over to patreon.com and join us. $1 a month will get you the entire library free. Ad-free, that is. Ad-free. If you don't like ads, head on over there. But let's get into the mailbag and start taking voicemails, because that's what this is all about. So let's start right now.
Matt, this is Jeff from the Philippines. It's been a while, and I just want to request for a wrestling nostalgia episode when Stone Cold invaded Brian Pillman's home. And I just want to comment on some stuff happening right now. I like the ending on the episode of SmackDown last week, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. And AJ Styles winning the Triple Threat number 1 contenders match. I didn't expect it, given how WWE have protected Keith Lee and Matt Riddle from losing. And that's all, Matt. And hope you're doing okay. Take care.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm doing okay, hanging in there, and hope you're doing well. So, okay. Yeah, I'll take that into my consideration of wrestling nostalgia requests. Brian Pillman, when Stone Cold invaded, and the whole gun situation, the very controversial gun situation, that's a good one. And that actually happened just as I was starting to get into WWF at the time. So definitely thank you for the request. I'm glad you enjoyed SmackDown the way it ended last week. It certainly has been really an uptick in terms of the quality of wrestling, particularly the main storylines. It has been definitely a noticeable improvement. Now, that's not to say everything is doing really well. Certainly, there's not everything is doing great, but I agree. And I also I'll say this. With AJ Styles winning the Triple Threat, in a way I saw it coming. And the way I saw it coming is they have protected Keith Lee. They have protected him from taking a really clean, solid loss. When he's involved in multi-person matches, he never, ever takes the pinfall. At least that's how it's happened so far since he's been on the, quote, main roster. Matt Riddle has already taken a couple of losses. I mean, so he is not immune to the loss, the losses that really Keith Lee seems to be allergic to, that WWE Creative just will not give him at this time. Riddle's a peg below where they view Keith Lee. So I had a feeling that Riddle was there to take the fall, and that it was either going to be Keith Lee or AJ. And since Keith Lee, I think, would have gotten some backlash winning that triple threat with the too much too soon, stop shoving him down our throats type of fan reaction, they went with AJ Styles, who is a sure thing with the quality of the match. And you also want time to build these guys up. I mean, you can't just come up to the main roster and get a championship match. I mean, the fact that they were even in the triple threat is arguably a little bit much, but given the fact that they have a real problem with star power, I understand the need to create new stars. But AJ Styles is the one that I think should have won at this point, because, look, no one's beating Drew McIntyre right now. Nobody's beating Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, especially considering he just won it back from Randy Orton. It just doesn't make sense to have a new person, somebody new like Riddle or Keith Lee, be the sacrificial lamb for Drew McIntyre. AJ Styles can take the loss. He can take a clean loss. The guy's a made man. You don't want to do that to your up-and-coming stars, though. So I'm with everybody that look, AJ Styles is probably the right choice. And you would have had a babyface versus babyface match if the other two had won. And as we all know, babyface versus heel is usually the better dynamic. So thanks, Jeff. Hope to hear from you again soon. And take care. All right. on to our next voicemail.
Hey, Matt, it's Kyle from New York again. So, I've been thinking about this. Everyone's saying, rumored that Daniel Bryan's going to be Roman Reigns' next challenger. If, and probably, Roman Reigns is going to retain, do you think Big E would be a good next challenger? Thinking about this, and I was like, but if he's still the New Day Big E, I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. If he's a serious Big E, cool. Now I'm going to like it. But is it too late? What I mean by that is, like you always said, I'm pretty sure you said this before, like every week Big E can slowly become more and more serious. But TLC is like 3 weeks away. And this match is at TLC. Can he really be a full series in 3 weeks? Honestly. That I feel like we want it to be a slow turn, like you said. But like, it's only 3 weeks. I feel like it's kind of rushing him right to the series Big E. Like, I wanted the match to happen if he's serious. How are they going to do it in 3 weeks? Like, it's not enough time to make him slowly turn serious. And if it does happen, if it works, cool. But I don't know if it's gonna, because it's gonna be not a slow turn. Like I said, it's gonna feel rushed. It's gonna feel too rushed, way too quick, and it's not gonna make sense. It's not gonna feel right. So that's really all I have today. And I'm also sending you this voicemail on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone on the podcast, to you, all the listeners, all the voicemailers, all the co-hosts, everybody. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Kyle, thank you so much for calling, and happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I mean, obviously, as I record this, it's 6 days from Thanksgiving, 6 days removed. So that's the downside of doing one show for the mailbag when you could have a 6-day-old voicemail. But hey, it is what it is, and I think a separate voicemail show is the way to go on top of live shows when needed. So, but thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving. And now it's on to Christmas. If you celebrate it, great. If not, it's still, should be a happy time of year, and we'll see as 2020 continues to pound us all. So here's the thing with Big E. Short answer, I do not think, nor would I advise WWE to turn him in 3 weeks back to a serious version of the babyface Big E. I would not advise that, nor do I think they'll do that. If Daniel Bryan is truly the next contender for Roman Reigns, I like that dynamic. I think that's a good one. I think that Daniel Bryan has something left to give. Daniel Bryan has made it very clear that this is his last full-time run. So whenever his contract expires, he might go to part-time, sometime, only time, never. I mean, who knows? But the point I'm making is that Big E, and I've said it and I'll continue to say it, needs a slow transition. I know that maybe you're not a fan of it. Some fans want it now. They want the serious Big E now. I like logical steps. I like to be, have my hand held and told a story that makes sense, that I can follow, I can get lost in, and that I can believe. And I will not believe, as you said, that if Big E turns in 3 weeks, that would make sense. And I don't think that is something WWE would do. Now, what I think they're doing with Big E, I think we will eventually see a serious version of him. What I think they're going to do is play the long game with him. And what that means is, maybe he has a massive showing at the Rumble. Maybe he wins the Royal Rumble and faces Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Is that so crazy? Is that so crazy to think that Big E could possibly win the Royal Rumble and we see the evolution of the serious Big E? No, I don't think that's impossible. I know we're all looking to Drew versus Roman or Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. What about Big E? I think they've got big plans for Big E. I really do. And I think they're playing the long game. I would not hotshot it and turn him into the serious Big E, nor would I even have him the joking kind of spin-off of the New Day Big E in a championship match. I don't want that version of Big E in a championship match. No, I don't think anybody does. So that's what I would do. Have a big showing at the Rumble, continue to evolve, have him and Roman go toe-to-toe, and then have Big E start to really pick up the pace with that more serious tone. Now, that doesn't mean that he needs to be super serious all the time. He can have his moments of humor. I just want him to wash himself of the New Day character, be his own man. He's got a lot more to give, and I know I speak for many fans when I say, can we move on from the Big E New Day spinoff, please? So that's how I think that's how I'd book it, right? Doesn't mean the WWE is going to do it, but that's what I'd do. Alrighty, thank you so much, and on to the next.
Hi, it's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I want to talk about what happened on SmackDown between Sasha and Carmella. I'm glad that Carmella finally had an explanation of why she keeps attacking Sasha, because she was like, Dan Carmella was forgot about. She was talking about the fact that she, was doing this comedy stuff in the past, the last year or so, and then when Sasha came out and attacked her again, to have to do like revenge type of thing, I liked it. So, but what do you think about that entire segment? But that was it. Thanks for the call. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. As always, loyal listener, thank you so much. I think that Carmella was underrated as a SmackDown Women's Champion, because don't forget, she was a SmackDown Women's Champion. I mean, and I know people forget that because she was so long associated with R-Truth and James Ellsworth and that whole thing, and being relegated to a comedy side act. But she did give an explanation. I don't know if it was an explanation that made sense why she attacked Sasha, from what I recall. It was just an explanation of why she just attacked anyone, why she's angry, and that she's all about her, and she's not being anyone's anything. She's being her own woman, all that stuff. I don't know why Sasha was targeted, maybe just because she's the champion. But Sasha did get a measure of revenge. I actually, while I enjoyed it from the fact that she's been attacked by Carmella the last 3 weeks, I was kind of like, well, I'd rather see her get her revenge in the ring. I'm a very patient fan. I'm a very patient fan that loves building heat till the point of boiling and angering fans to the point of screaming before they get their payoff. Not every time. Of course, we don't need to follow this formula every time, but they had a little bit nice streak going where Carmella would constantly attack from behind. And 3 weeks is a long time in pro wrestling WWE land, but I would have kept it going a little longer. I mean, I really would have, until Sasha finally gets her hands on her at a pay-per-view, where she finally gets a little bit of revenge instead of just kind of a backstage segment. But she, that's not the way they book things, and I think Carmella and Sasha are going to put on a nice match. I do. Carmella is not bad at all. I think she's good. We just haven't seen her in this role in quite a while where she's focused on herself, and it's, I think, going to be a good match. Now, is it going to be as good as Bayley and Sasha in quality of matches? Maybe, maybe not. But it's nice to see Sasha with a new opponent, and Carmella on her own again is nice. And Carmella is also kind of a refreshed character on top of it. So, to me, it's a win-win-win. I don't think Carmella is going to capture the championship. Certainly not, considering how long it took Sasha to finally get there and beat Bayley. But it's a nice new opponent for Sasha that she could mess around with for the next couple of months. So, we'll have to see where it goes. Again, it's a little bit new, but I'm on board for it. I'm not gung-ho and on the edge of my seat every week to see these segments, but it's got my attention. And I think that's all that anyone could ask for right now. So, alrighty. Thank you, and on to the next.
Hey, it's Kyle again from Baltimore, Maryland. One more thing I forgot to say as well is about the women's tag team championships. I think the Riot Squad should be the champions. I think they have a lot of momentum. Mainly Liv Morgan this place year, do a documentary for her, on the network or whatever. But I just think both of them, the Riot Squad, are really good, and got the look. And Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax really shouldn't be the champs at this point. They're just not doing it for me. But think about that. That was it. Thank you for the call. Bye.
Oh, double dipping, are we, Kyle? So, good question about the tag team championships, because they rarely are talked about. The women's tag team championships are rarely talked about. The reason is because there's like 2 teams that could possibly have it, which creates really a devaluing of the championship, because there's really no one contending for it. Now, could the Riot Squad become champions? Sure. I know what you're talking about with the special with Liv Morgan. I have not seen it, but at least it's nice that they're putting a little bit of spotlight on her. And Ruby Riott, I think, is deserving of a little bit more than she's gotten. And they certainly could challenge and potentially win for the women's tag team championships. That said, I do believe that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have actually added value by being prominent every week in the women's division, by seemingly having chemistry together on screen that can't be taught. And they do seem to have chemistry, even though they hate one another. They are heels, and the whole Lana situation is actually helping them. It's kind of weird. Like, I'm not a big Lana fan, as you guys know, but what they've done over the last few months, they've really done a nice job repairing Lana and adding value and some kind of interesting story to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, other than Nia Jax just being this monster that doesn't say much and just hurts people or whatever it may be. So it's weird, but I actually believe that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have more credibility than the Riot Squad do as they're currently presented. That doesn't mean I don't want to see Riot Squad as champions. I just don't think that WWE has done enough to make us believe they could be champions and beat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So they need to do some work on the back end, or on the front end rather, before they get to the championship. Granted, again, the women's tag team championships they don't mean a whole lot. They don't mean a whole lot. It's just because of the fact that there's such a small pool of candidates of women's tag teams. I mean, seriously, we have the makeshift of Lana and Asuka, of which Asuka's the Raw Women's Champion, and that has actually kind of gone by the wayside, by the way. I think she's just kind of holding the course or steering the course until Charlotte comes back. I mentioned that on my WWE Raw review. But, who else do we have? Riot Squad. We have Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I mean, they broke up the Iconics for what reason, I don't know. We have Billie Kay going around giving people headshots trying to find a job, even though she has a job because she's there. She's trying to find something to do. And we have Peyton Royce getting a win here and there, being booked 50-50, not doing a whole lot of relevant things. So tell me again what the point of breaking up the Iconics were when they never even got on a real roll. They were there. They became tag team champions at WrestleMania. They hid away. They came back. They thought they were going to go on a run. Then they put a match together that says, if you guys lose, you have to disband. Well, why? The women's tag team pool is thin as it is. You take a tag team away, I mean, that's like cutting 75 or 50% of your tag teams right now. I mean, so it made no sense to split up the Iconics, considering they never even really got on a roll, and I thought they had amazing chemistry. I don't understand the split. I really don't understand it. I'm not seeing a reason for it at all, especially considering that it's been, a couple of months, and these two have done nothing since. Nothing. And so, I don't know. I don't get it. But, okay. All right. Thank you for the voicemail, Kyle, and let's get on to the next.
Hey, it's the Waz calling again. Hey, I just recently caught up on WWE shows, Raw and SmackDown. So, SmackDown first from Friday. I'm really over these Rey Mysterio guys and his son, his family, the whole thing. I wonder if they even know where they're going with it. Honestly, I would rather see, them just go away for a while and Rey disappear or something. Give Dominic some type of chance to do something. I don't know. Bring Humberto Carrillo back and let him and Dominic be a team or something. I don't know. But I'm just kind of over the bad acting, the bad everything. And I want to see Murphy do something better than just be with this 19-year-old chick. But what's going on with Roman and everything, I just love it. I hope it just doesn't keep repeating itself where Jay finally turns on Roman again and Roman has to beat him into submission again, and it's over and over again. So I hope that's not the case. Everything that's going on Raw with Randy and The Fiend, fantastic. I'm loving where they're going with it. I'm loving that Randy's getting into the head of The Fiend for once instead of Fiend always getting somebody else's head. I think it's great. Maybe there's even going to be some kind of reversal in it that he thinks he's actually getting in his head and he's not. I don't know. Alexa Bliss is just nailing it. She's amazing. I love what she's doing. Everything with McIntyre, I really do think that Sheamus is going to turn on him at some point. It just makes sense. It should happen. I would love to see a rivalry there. I don't think AJ is going to win it at table, ladders, and chairs or whatever, TLC. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm over Matt Hardy. I think he's dumb. I either make him a heel or do something different with him. I know he's got some great ability and he looks great in the ring, but I'm just kind of tired and over it. Everything going on with the women's division, it's just, I'm not loving any of it. I think everything going on with Lana is just because they don't know what else to do. And I just want to see somebody else hold the women's tag team championships. But I don't even know who that would be because I don't like any combinations that they have. With the men's tag team, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Eliminate one and just have one that bounces between both shows. I don't think we need to have the New Day and the Profits both having titles.
Hey, Waz, so you hit your 3-minute limit, which is why you got cut off mid-sentence, but a lot of good stuff there. I'm glad you were able to recap a lot of different things in 3 minutes. So I'll touch on a couple of them. I mean, if I went into everything, it would be like another hour and a half podcast because you touched on so many good things. Rey Mysterio, I will just say maybe he can kind of go wherever the hell Lars Sullivan is, right? Like maybe he can just kind of disappear into the ether as keep Dominic around but leave everyone else home, right? Like the family can stay home, let Dominic start his career, and then I think you'll kind of wash this memory of maybe the longest storyline in the last 10 years in WWE, only rivaled by Roman Reigns, King Corbin last year. This is just, I'm done. Murphy with the 19-year-old Aaliyah is just flat out uncomfortable. Yes, it's of course legal in terms of they're able to be with each other based on their ages. I get it, but it's weird. It's kind of uncomfortable. So I'm not enjoying any part of this. And Rey Mysterio was also able to magically grow his eye back. So maybe they can experiment with other miracles that he's able to perform. I don't know. Maybe he is the second coming of Christ. Who knows? But either way, they just kind of need to kind of hit the road and let maybe Dominic stay back and compete and do his thing. I don't need the whole family there. I'm with you. The women's or the tag teams in general, because I already touched on the women's tag team in the previous caller, but the tag team championships, the men's, I totally agree that there needs to be one, because one tag team championship floating between brands, I think, would be much better, considering there's not a whole lot of tag teams to begin with. The tag team divisions on both are super thin. So if there's one versus two, that would immediately make that one more valuable. They could float between brands anytime they want because they're champions. I'm okay with that rule. I'm okay. I really am. As much as I despise the whole brand split that they can't even adhere to for a week, I'm okay with champions floating. I'm 100% on board for that as well. Love it. And your comments about Randy Orton and The Fiend, I'm also loving that as well. I mean, that's what I alluded to earlier in my show. In my, I think it was my nostalgia show that I did earlier, that I'm loving what WWE is doing right now, especially with their large storyline, their main storylines. They're nailing it on all fronts. With Randy and The Fiend, and Roman with Jey Uso, facing seemingly now Kevin Owens with Jey Uso. And I don't think Jey Uso is going to turn on him. We might see frustrations come out on his end. But ultimately, I think that Jey and Roman both benefit from him staying. We've already seen them fight on multiple pay-per-views. So him turning would be like, oh, back to this again. It wouldn't be like, oh, this is going to be great. It's new. It's not, because we've seen it. And we ultimately know that Roman Reigns can flat out beat Jey Uso. It's not even a question. So I don't think that will happen right away. And if it does, it's way down the line because we just saw it. So it wouldn't be a big shock. But yeah, all right. So anyway, Waz, thank you so much for calling, and always great to hear your opinions, thoughts, and we will talk to you soon. All right, here we go. Next voicemail.
Hey, how you doing today, Matt? It's the casual wrestling fan. Hey, I just want to hit a couple quick topics with you real quick. I know on the Raw review, you guys were talking about Drew McIntyre and obviously AJ Styles won the quote-unquote sudden death triple threat match, and the Miz has the Money in the Bank. Now, my prediction is, which I know is probably way off for you guys, is I think Drew is going to drop the belt, even though he just regained it. I mean, let's think. WWE made sure to let Drew win the belt to put him and Roman together, which was a great match. It looked great, and it could be a WrestleMania type of match. Well, how do we get Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre in the match together to do WrestleMania? Drew McIntyre would have to drop the belt before the Royal Rumble and play and get in the Royal Rumble, win it 2 years in a row, go on to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which is a great story at that. How he dropped it, I don't know, but I do see him losing the belt before WrestleMania. Number two, I hear you going off on Matt Riddle a lot. I personally like his character. I know I don't speak for nobody but myself, but I think he's got a pretty good character. He reminds me of a 2020 version of RVD. Always looking high and stone, especially even on Raw Talk. I mean, he's very funny. And, I mean, he's a joy to me, bro. Anyway, last point. R-Truth doesn't get the credit he deserves. And I think he's a future Hall of Famer. Hands down, no questions asked. He should be, if not. But that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys have a great day, and talk to you later.
All right. Well, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, you bring up some very valid points here. I think that we all believe we will see Roman and Drew again. I'm going to address your 3 points one by one here because you addressed some really good stuff. Roman and Drew are going to meet again, and Drew even said on Raw that our paths will cross again, and they will. We just don't know when. So, could it be at WrestleMania? It could be. Could it be sooner? Probably not. Could it be after WrestleMania? Maybe. So, how about that for some straight answers? But your point about him dropping the belt to AJ. Now, let me play out that scenario. Say he drops the belt to AJ, and it's because of Roman Reigns screwing him at the pay-per-view. There would have to be a reason for him to drop the belt to go after Roman. And maybe there's a massive trade to SmackDown. Did we ever think of that? Right? So if he drops the belt, and if Roman screws him out of the belt to just further get under the skin of Drew, then you could have a massive trade to SmackDown, or keep him on Raw, have him win the Rumble, and then go after this Universal Championship on SmackDown. There are multiple ways to get there. Now, you could also say he keeps the belt at TLC, AJ loses, and then you have Drew still enter the Rumble and also win the Royal Rumble and challenge for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Now, you may be saying, what are you talking about? It's happened in the recent past. Brock Lesnar, most recent example, as a champion, entered the Royal Rumble himself. You remember that? Last year. So it happens. Just because he's champion doesn't mean he can't enter the Royal Rumble. The question would be, well, what happens if he wins as champion? Does it mean it's a unification match? Does it mean he'd just be double champion as Universal and WWE champion? There are a lot of questions. But I would counter with that. I would counter with Drew keeps the belt. AJ can take the loss. I don't think it's going to hurt him. Drew enters the Rumble, and they go, well, what's he going to do? I mean, he's champion. He can't challenge himself. And people go, oh, he can challenge Roman. But what does that mean? They can work out the details later, which WWE often does. They just come up with an idea and go, well, we'll figure it out, which never works out 9 times out of 10. So that's what I think they would do. But you make a good point. And they could take that road. They could. They absolutely could. It's just, how would they get there? How would they get there? Maybe, again, it could be very straightforward. He wins the Rumble, challenges Roman Reigns. He goes to SmackDown, challenges him for the Universal Championship, and we're off to the races. That absolutely could happen. I think one of those two is what's going to happen. Ultimately, I think Drew McIntyre wins the Royal Rumble. I think both paths lead to the Royal Rumble for Drew winning, whether he's champion or not. So, cool. Next point, and this is in no particular order, your R-Truth point. Yes, the guy is very undervalued. I think backstage and I know he's universally loved from everything I've seen and heard. He is deserving of the Hall of Fame, no question. Given his longevity, his propensity for comedy, his ability at comedy, which is not easy at all. And I just wish he had a real run. What I mean by that is just a real run as champion. Maybe with an Intercontinental Championship, maybe with the top belt. I mean, people would gravitate to that. The guy is ultra talented. Imagine the great promos he could cut, hilariously cut. This guy has all the tools, but unfortunately Vince has looked at him as a comedy-only character. That's unfortunate because it's like Vince has locked him in for life in that role. And I think he has more to give. I really do. So hopefully Ron Killings gets some justice and gets one run before he, calls it quits. The guy's not a young guy. He's in his 40s. I mean, he's not young. So I hope he does indeed get a run. But if not, he is still deserving of Hall of Fame. I agree. Your last point that you made about Matt Riddle, or Riddle, whatever the hell it is, how many times WWE's going to chop people's names up. Look, you like him? Great. I think we both agree. Our common ground is that he's really good in the ring. I mean, personality-wise, you like him. I don't. But in the ring, I think we can all agree and have some camaraderie here that he is really good in the ring. Really good. And that's where I think he will really earn the respect of fans is in the ring. Because I think that some fans probably are off-put by his character, and some fans like you love his character. And which is why I think if he came out in a real arena right now, he'd get a mixed reaction. I think we are representing the fans pretty well and being split in the personality. But when the bell rings, he changes. It's like you forget that he's this stoner guy and he's all business. And I actually laughed that he's the 2020 version of RVD. Yeah, that actually made me laugh. That's pretty funny. That's true, right? Like he is the 2020 version of RVD. Maybe he'll adopt this frog splash. I mean, who knows? But he's exactly that. I mean, if RVD ever came back, they would be a phenomenal tag team. That would be, I actually think that would be hilarious. So, good points. Thank you, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. On to our final voicemail for the evening here.
Oh, hey, Matt. It's Bevan from Australia here. Hope you're well. Haven't watched listened to your Raw review yet, so you might have brought this up in the show, but after watching it, I was thinking about the AJ Styles, I guess, as a heel character. I kind of find him comical, with his big bodyguard picking him up and carrying him out and saying, "Oh yeah, he saved your life too, else I would have torn you apart." I've always found AJ Styles as a heel, he doesn't quite pull it off for me. Even when he was with the OC, I think it was Anderson and Gallows. They seem to come across as a bit more comical, not as annoying as the Miz heel, but yeah, I find myself just sitting there watching it going, yeah, right, okay, cool. So yeah, I was just wondering what your thoughts are on AJ Styles as a heel versus a babyface. And my other thought was, again, loving the Roman Reigns character. It's just so good. I just can't wait for the next SmackDown. Whenever, just based on this character and this heel run. But I keep thinking, I don't really want to see Roman using the Superman punch, not only because it's coming 2 weeks before the show because of that long hang time in the air, but Superman's more of a superhero, and he's seen as a hero and a person of good, in comics and Superman fans, I suppose. So as a heel, using the Superman punch to me doesn't really seem the way to go with it. I love his submission move. I think he should use that more, as well as the spear, but I just think a submission, I think it's called the guillotine, I hope I'm not wrong. I just see that as so much more appropriate or fitting of his character as a heel. And just maybe drop the Superman punch until he has a babyface run again, which I hope is years to come, because this is light years different. I love watching Roman Reigns now. I couldn't bear to watch him when he was a face. So yeah, just wondering on your thoughts on those 2 points I brought up. And mate, hope you're doing well. Cheers.
Hey, Bevan, thank you for calling in. I feel like it's been a little while, so nice to hear from you. Hope you're doing well as well. So AJ Styles as a babyface versus a heel, that is something I really haven't thought too much about, but when you started talking about it, I think AJ Styles could do both, but I feel like he's been heel long enough that I'm okay with a babyface switch now. And it almost seems as if he kind of has. This bodyguard he has, has he discovered he could suddenly speak English. I found that really funny. And the dynamic between the two is, first of all, the visual is hilariously just dramatic of how much of a size difference there is between the two. And AJ Styles is a funny heel. So does that really make him a heel? Heels shouldn't make you laugh. Heels shouldn't make you smile. Heels shouldn't make you feel anything but anguish, pain, and suffering, and horror. That's all heels should do. If a heel's making me laugh, I don't consider him a heel. But WWE will still cast him as that, even though his actions don't really sync up with what his actual role is as a heel. So that all being said, I still think AJ Styles right now should turn heel, or should turn back to babyface. The problem is he's with a bodyguard. So the bodyguard is supposed to be the guy that takes his hits, does his, does all the cashing for the checks his mouth is writing. So I don't think they'll actually turn him based on the fact that they've put a bodyguard with him. But I'm okay with him turning back babyface. Now, if you're going to put a gun in my head and say, which do I think he's better at? Babyface. Because he's a small guy. He's undersized. He's automatically the underdog. So I think he's better as a babyface, but it's not overwhelmingly better. It's not like Seth Rollins is a babyface or Roman Reigns is a babyface. Both are just born to be heels, right? Some people scream heel, and this guy doesn't scream heel. He doesn't scream babyface, but I think he leans babyface. So I hope that answers your question. The second point that you brought up about Roman Reigns and the Superman punch, I thought the same thing. I just never actually vocalized it on my show. Yeah, I don't know why he's still doing it. I guess it's just part of his arsenal and that's what he does. But that to me is like shades of his old babyface character that I never want to think about again. So I think he should remove it or modify it in a way that doesn't mimic exactly what he did as a babyface. Because he still like cocks his arm and slams it to the mat and then does exactly how he did his previous move as a babyface. So yeah, he needs to shed that little bit. But if that's the worst thing he's doing, I mean, my God, I mean, that is certainly not the worst thing that could be happening with the Roman Reigns character right now. But I would agree, it's a small thing that he could change very easily and just either eliminate it or modify it in a way that doesn't exactly mirror what he did before. Totally agree. I thought about that same thing. I'm like, what is he doing? Right? It just doesn't make sense as a heel. But the guillotine, as you said, I like that. He added a move with the guillotine. It's nice to see that he has changed that. He changed his gimmick. The only thing he hasn't changed, or his gimmick, his gear, I meant to say, but he hasn't changed his music. I'm waiting for the music to change. Maybe. Maybe. I'm not dying for it. But the music could change. You know, sometimes it does as a heel. Alexa Bliss's right off the bat is just damn brilliant and dark, and I love it. God, I love Alexa Bliss's music. It's just so apropos for her character's turn into darkness. It's great. But Roman Reigns, I really have nothing to complain about other than, yeah, okay, the Superman punch, I'm with you. They could easily scratch that or tweak it. But that's really the only thing I've got to nitpick on his character. Other than that, they have done an absolute fantastic job. Roman Reigns has done a fantastic job. I've got nothing bad to say about this. The story he's in, the presentation, how he's acting, it's all beautiful because it's all natural. It's all natural to him. That's why this is working. That's why this is working, is because it just comes second nature to him. And we all knew it was there as fans. The ones that were booing him as a babyface were all like, this is what Vince was missing. And now we're getting it. And I'm loving it, and I'm not regretting asking for it. And no, to Corey Graves or CM Punk that always believed that just because the fans boo a babyface, they would cheer him as a heel. No. They didn't do that with Seth Rollins when he turned back heel. They wouldn't do it with Roman Reigns because he is genuinely dislikable as a person on camera. Behind the scenes, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I've met the guy. He's a nice guy. But on camera, he oozes arrogance. And we all knew it was there. So, alrighty, well, guys, I think that wraps it up for me here on the mailbag. Thank you to all of our callers taking the time to come on and vent or ask questions or comments. It is much appreciated. And if you'd like to join the crowd and you're new to the show, easy. You just call 518-952-0247. And you can call day or night. I don't pick up. It's not to my phone. It's a separate voicemail only for this show. Nobody's picking up. I promise it's not going to be weird. I'm not going to, answer and, say, who's this, right? I promise. So that is it for me tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the mailbag. Another one coming next week. And until then, I'll talk to you soon.